technology when we are saying inclusive education for persons with disability. So in the new education policy 2020, and actually also before that, we always had and we have a charter for inclusive education and equitable education. So it is mostly concerned about the alternative and augmentative communication. So in the education policy 2020, chapter 6, 6.10 describes equitable and inclusive education, which is learning for all. It says that ensuring the inclusion and equal participation of children with disabilities in in the equitable and comprehensive education of the schooling system will also be accorded the highest priority. So there is a policy priority, but as with all policies, we are still far behind in the implementation part and also the necessary support system for the implementation part. So the idea is that children with disabilities will be enabled to fully participate in the regular schooling process from the foundational stage to higher education. This policy is in complete consonance with the provision for the RPWD Act, that is the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, which we discussed when we discussed about the social inclusion and what does it mean by to have the social justice and right-based model for disability. So it endorses all its recommendations with regard to school education. So it is there, but again, it is uh, uh, like one thing is to have it on paper and another thing is to implement it in practice. Okay. Okay. So just now today we were last time we uh, last week we stopped at this slide, which is the in case of the what happened, that we saw that in case of absence of dexterity, when we have the artificial limbs, so when person retains the dexterity, so it can be connected to different muscles via the electrode and the from the EMG readings and by the muscle reinnervation, the prosthetics can work. But we stopped at discussion that what happens in the absence of dexterity. So there are two things. One is that one is the bionic neurons, which are the neuromuscular the implants, so which is like the muscle neurons, but not our biological neurons, but artificial electronic neurons, which works on the principle of functional electrical simulation. And another part is brain computer interfaces or neurochip, which interface creates an artificial motor pathway. So last week we saw there this is an example of an ankle functional electrical simulator, which helps persons with loss of like their involuntary leg movement or paralysis to walk. And this is the gate for walking, and we discussed how it works with the three electrical simulators, and each have their own part, and they helps in contraction of the muscles, expand of the muscle, and lifting of the leg. So now from bionics or bionic neurons, when we talk about brain computer interface, we say that it makes an artificial motor pathway. So what it does, as we know that our motor functions are controlled by the motor cortex of our brain, a part of our brain which is responsible for the motor functions in the hand movement, leg movements, okay, the movements or mobility. So what happens in certain cases for disability or injury or paralysis, this spinal cord pathway, we all know what is spinal cord, the long spine running through our back, and we all know how important it is for our regular bodily function and the uh, physical activities and the motor functions. And we have all seen in different example in both real life examples or in the stories, that if the spinal cords get affected, then a person stands risking paralysis. So what happens in this case, if we think it in a very crude term, so actually the pathway between the the motor neuron which are in our muscle through spinal cord to brain, that is broken. Okay, so that's why the paralysis happen, all the involuntary movement happen. So a brain computer interface is a chip or implant which actually acts as a substitute pathway for it. So it is like a bridge between the brain, the motor cortex, and our limbs, the motor neurons, and the, just okay. Um, um, and it acts and it established connections with the muscles. And now, in case if there is no muscle, if it is an artificial limb, then the brain computer interface establishes the connection with the artificial limb. Okay. Uh, okay. So just how BCI controls.
Ma'am, these the BCIG, these are the wires, are the electrodes or something else?
Yes, the electrode. So it is basically the electrode the arrays fitted on a chip. So it is a chip, the implant. Like
So BCI connected with the muscles and the brain simultaneously.
no, BCI connects with, like, the chip connects with the brain, and the signals goes to the muscles.
Okay, through brain we can put the signal through the muscles, through the brains to the muscles.
Yes, yes, to the
Oh,
muscles. Okay,
yeah.
so actually what happens, let me if see it is so it is not as simple as that. I just implant a BCI chip and automatically this pathway restores, right? So there are lots of other internal electrical connections. So in case of, see, if like this person or like this kind of exoskeleton suits or things like that, so there are also device interfaces at the artificial prosthetics. The That's why it is called the intelligent prosthetics itself. Okay, so there are multiple device interfaces at different parts of the like whole artificial prosthetic or orthotics, but the brain computer interface, this particular chip, this is like the main chip, it is implanted in the brain. Okay, so actually in the brain means either in the different parts, so it depends. Either at a like it can be on your cortex, it can be on your like near spinal cord, like at the back in the neck. So it depends. Or there are even implants which are done there in the retina for vision. We will see that. Was I able to answer your question?
So ma'am, what exactly affected? Like through signals, we just put signal by our brain to muscles. So in as a biology student, I'm asking ki, like there is two types of nerves, na? So afferent or efferent. So what impacted? How it impacted to the muscles? It's through. I know there is brain to muscles. It's a afferent, and then muscles to brain is efferent nerve.
Yes.
So is that any connection between this with these signals or BCI with these nerves?
Yes, yes. So actually, this brain to muscle nerves. So what happens? Take example in case of paralysis. This so brain to muscle nerve is like what it happening. That brain is giving some electrical signals, right? Which needs to go via the spinal cord, the nerves, and go to the motor muscles to make the action happening. And the entire thing is basically a set of electrical signals and spikes, right? So now think of a electric circuit. When the biological circuit is broken, so this brain computer interface, like this electronic chip and the artificial electronic pathway, it acts as the substitution for the biological pathway. So of course the chip does not connect to individual neurons, but say it is implanted in your cortex or in your spinal cord or in your like this brain stem. So in that way it forms the connection.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I know it is not very clear till now, but actually the thing is BCI is a like whole domain in itself. So at this moment, I do not have the resources and also the time to describe in detail that how exactly the pathways are established. So this is a very superficial block diagram, but if you want to read more about it, I can point you towards resources. So please drop me a message in Teams.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Okay, so actually to discuss some more on BCI on the different types of brain signals and some more applications use cases, I have requested one of my scholar to deliver a lecture tomorrow at the tomorrow class timing. So if you are interested, and even if not interested, please attend the class. আচ্ছা, just a Okay, so let me actually jump. I think so. Let me show you like one real life example of what we call the visual prosthesis. So this particular example is not exactly a BCI. I will go back to the other slide, but I think it will make the discussion more interesting and not very alien. Uh, so what happens in case of retinitis pigmentosa? If someone gets retinitis pigmentosa, she loses the eyesight. So retinitis pigmentosa is basically the loss of our retinal cell to process the incoming stimuli. Okay, as you all know, how do we see? We get like the light goes through our eyes and it falls on the retina, and then the retinal cells capture the information via optic nerve. It sends it to the brain, and the brain kind of processes or decodes what kind of uh, visual image that we are seeing, and it sends back the information. Sorry, and in that way we see, we actually see anything, right? So that is how our eye to brain is connected. Okay, so now in in case of retinitis pigmentosa, these retinal cells, they are not able to process the incoming stimuli in form of the like light or image or like the even the colors, different colors. So for that, it is called a visual prosthesis or bionic eye. So this version of the image, it shows that, uh, sorry, this version of the visual prosthesis, it is based on a retinal implant. So how persons with retinitis pigmentosa, so you can think the persons are blind. like they have visual impairment and they cannot see absolutely. Via this implant they actually can see again. And how it works is that there is a video there is a video processing unit, a set of glasses, and the glass is fit with a camera, and there is a wireless transmitter, and there is also a wireless receiver. And this is the eye, and there is a retinal implant inside the eye, and this is the optic nerve. So what happens, this camera captures the image, and it sends to the retinal the implant for which is a set of electrode arrays for processing. And there is also a video processing unit. So this processing happens, it sends the incoming image of whatever is captured via the camera by optical nerve through the brain, and it also has its own video processing unit to process the incoming information. And by combining these two, it actually sends a, so basically this video processing unit also sends information to the person's brain, and then the person, like, it is perceived as if the person is seeing what is in front of him or her. So let us see a small video. Um,
The last time when I was able to see my son, he was like 2 years old. Now he's 21, and my daughter is 12. No, I never could see her.
Today, you're going to experience, or I hope you experience, flashing lights.
So Mr. Wolfrey is our first patient. We implanted the Argus implant. The Argus implant is also known as bionic eye.
So I'm going to have you put on your glasses. Okay?
Today, we were very fortunate to turn the device on.
We term this as artificial vision. It's not vision as you used to know it.
I think when I started to lose my vision, and the doctor said that I had RP.
RP stands for retinitis pigmentosa. It's a genetic disease of retina, which is the back layer of our eyes, and that actually makes a patient blind from anywhere from 20 to 60 years of age.
You want to look over to your left, see your son and your wife over here.
With Argus 2, we can find bypass those disease cells and make some kind of a stimulation in the retina, the remaining cells of the retina and brain, and that's how the Argus work. We implant a micro electrode in the eye, and by quite a complex surgery, and then we give patient these glasses with a built-in camera. So what it does is the electrode take over the function of disease cells in the eye, and that transmits signals to this camera patient wears on their glasses, and that's how the vision is perceived.
Coming back from Gainesville, I was able to see cars on the sides, and that was very, very exciting for me.
He acted like a little boy. Like he said, I was driving, and I remember very well when he said, "What is that, Mary?" It was a car. What color it was? It was white. He saw a very big building with lights, and he said, "What was that?" And I said, "A big building, Walfred." And he just asked me everything and what was it, and I was very excited.
He has been living in that black cave for almost all his life, and now he's able to see, navigate around. It's a 180-degree turn in his life.
When I got to see my daughter first for the very first time, before we went to sleep, and she said, "Dad, put your glasses on and turn on the device." And I put my glasses and turn the device on, and she's in front of me. And when I tried to see her, I was able to see her face.
The bionic eye, giving a blind patient some vision that they can function in their life is definitely a great breakthrough.
Okay, thank you for watching. Actually, we have some other videos also on the bionic eye. Okay, so how it works, this is from the bionic vision, uh, Australia. So the camera, the first step is that camera captures image and transmit data to an external body on processing unit. If you recall, so there was a transmitter. Okay, sorry, there was a receiver. The data will be received at the receiver. Uh, so now, and if you recall in the video that, okay, am I audible or is there any background noise?
ऑडिबल मैम
Okay.
खाली कौन सा जो तो खाली बात वही ना
Yeah, because there is some construction noise going on at the back of my house. So that's why I asked. Okay. So, and if you recall in the video, it was shown that by by the sensors and the electrodes, the camera is actually activated to take an image because the camera is so it will need a very similar field of the image, so, or the field of capturing the image like our field of vision. So otherwise it will be like if suddenly it captures the whole 180 degree or 360 degree, like the angle of the field of camera should match with the field of vision of our eyes. Second, the data is processed and sent to the implanted system via the external one. If you recall, there is a video processing unit where the data is processed and sent to the implanted system. Third, the implanted receivers passes the signals onto the retinal the implant. So the retinal implant are at the back of our like retinals at the place of our retinal cells. Then this implanted electrode array, the implanted receivers, whatever signals the processed data that it has received, it stimulates the retina. And this when the retina is artificially stimulated, the electrical signal sends from retina via the visual pathway to vision processing centers in the brain. So visual pathway is nothing but the optical nerve. Okay. So basically, instead of in general, what happens? Our eye get the signals. Our eye captures the light and whatever, and the visual stimulus, and the whole and the retina is stimulated biologically. In this way, there is a camera is capturing. It is doing and by the transmitter unit. It is sending it to the video processing unit. The external video processor processes whatever the camera is taking, and then it sends the information to the retinal implant. To the retinal implant means as a set of electrical signals which stimulates the retina. And then this retina, when the retina is artificially stimulated, the electrical signals from the retina, it goes to the vision processor center in the brain, and the person can feel that. So basically, if our brain is able to process that, that means the person feels that she is able to see again. So I thought it will be best actually to explain it with a set of videos, all with little bit of technical details, because it is even pretty complex for me to discuss.
Tomorrow, Christine Steves is having surgery, the first step in a process that could allow her to do something she hasn't done in 4 years. See.
I'm not looking for big surprises. I just want little things, maybe see the outline of my kids' faces, or heck, just putting a pair of bright colored socks together.
To get around in her Massachusetts home, this former nurse relies on a number of tools daily. A reader that tells her the denomination of the bill. 20. Raised buttons to help her use her kitchen appliances. Tools she put into place over the past 7 years after being diagnosed with a rare genetic eye disease, retinitis pigmentosa, or RP.
I had to give up a lot of my independence. I couldn't just get into a car and run to the store or, meet up with friends. That was all gone.
Retinitis pigmentosa is often inherited, but patients' symptoms can start at any age.
They have trouble with their nighttime vision, and then over time they can develop a sort of tunnel vision where they only have a central island of vision left. And as that develops, they can eventually lose all of their vision.
While there is no cure for RP, Christine is the first in New England to try a high-tech device that could formulate a new type of vision. Doctors Michelle Liang and Andre Whitkin at Tufts Medical Center are placing the Argus 2 retinal implant, otherwise known as the bionic eye, in her right eye.
It allows patients with pretty poor vision to be able to see patterns of light that they can perceive to get clues about their environment.
Patients will wear special glasses fitted with a video camera. What the camera sees is transformed into patterns of light, which are transmitted to the implant that sits on the retina. Those signals travel to the optic nerve and then the brain, giving patients visual clues to the things around them.
Some people have had the implant and they might not see a huge difference, but other people, they've been able to sort their laundry. They've been able to identify windows and doors. They can identify lines on the street, and some people can even identify big letters or even short words.
The system is not turned on until the patient heals from surgery. Christine is ready to give it a try.
So now move your head just a tad bit down for us.
It's some great lights.
Christine will work with a low vision specialist over a series of weeks to get the most out of the device.
I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. And then when they turned it on, and I was able to see all these lights, and it was just amazing.
As soon as they turned on the system, she perceived light and she was able to identify things pretty early. And, with the testing, she could see the walls, she could see a doorknob. And I think, it's all very early because it's just the first day, and she'll learn to use the unit even better, and she'll be able to kind of identify things around her.
The Argus 2 is FDA approved only for those with severe to profound RP. The device is expensive, but most insurance plans cover some of the cost.
I'm still hoping to get to the point where I can see, like, maybe my family, the outline of maybe their faces. I'm looking forward to go to the casino and see if I can see my slot machine spinning. That's a big thing.
Okay, thank you for watching. I just want to also mention one point that as you can see, no implant or no prosthetics, however intelligent it is, it magically solves, disability. Because even if a person is able to walk again or see again or perform some functions, the experience of disability remains. The the social exclusion remains. And in this case, as you see that the lady is now having something called low vision. So low vision is also a type of disability, and for that there are specialized interventions, support, rehabilitation tools. The point being that of course we will concentrate on the technology, and developing new technology, but we must not also ignore or underestimate the principles of social inclusion from a right-based point and from a philosophical point, because otherwise we will again try to what we will try to do is to actually fix disability or solve disability with the help of technology. So which is not the right approach. Okay, this is one of the major concerns also among persons with disability and disability rights activists, that most of the times the very enthusiastic discussions of assistive technology is completely overshadow the discussion on inclusion from a right-based and a social justice-based perspective. We have some more videos still. So, as you have seen in the last two videos, that retinal implant is basically a set of electrode array. So now, so these pictures basically shows like what are the dimensions and how the electrode array are formed. So it is implanted in kind of at the back of the eye where our retinal cells are, the retinal implants, and it has certain different components that this is the transmitter and the implant. This B shows where in the retina the implant is. This red light, if you can see, this is the eye hole, this are the nerves, and this is the back of the eye. And what is implanted, this thing, this part is the eyelid suture ring. So basically how it is implanted in the eye. Sutures means whenever we do some medical operations and procedures, we need to stitch it up. uh, this is the stimulating electrode array. This is power supply, and also there is a stimulator chip, and this is the return electrode, and this is the mother circuit, which is the flexible substrate. Now I do not know very much about them because I like all the chips and the electrodes, but if you want to know in more details about it, I can point you to the resources. Okay. This is just to give an idea that generally, as you can see, that these are microns thick, and this whole dimension is 10 millimeters, and this is made of iridium oxide. This is how the different components are made for the visual prosthetics. So now this Argus 2 device that we were seeing till now is made by was is to be made by a company called the Second Sight. So Second Sight has two technologies for artificial vision. Both start with a camera, as we have seen, that streams video into the video processing unit. The video processing unit converts the images to simple patterns of 60 pixels and send the information to a transmitter on the user's glass. And then, as you can see, it artificially stimulates the retina, and it also sends signals to our the visual cortex. So, and also I missed one point, that basically the video processing unit processes the inputs from camera and changes to the pattern, simple patterns, because it needs to change it to patterns in which our retina can receive it, or retinal implants can receive it, and which will also be able to be decoded by the visual cortex. So now in the Argus 2 technology, the stimulation patterns goes to an implant in the retina. As you have seen till now, the electrode, the artificial chip, it is actually implanted in the retina. So this is the eye, and at the back of the eye, in the retinal tract, the electrode array is implanted. Now, as I have said, so either there are different places where the microchip is connected. So they have a later technology which is called Orion. which is still now in the clinical trials, where the implant is actually done in the brain. So the stimulation patterns instead of the retina, it directly goes to the brain. Now I am not aware that why, what are the advantage, why the decision, the risk, and the things like that. Okay, so but I believe the idea is that this will be a more efficient and more straightforward way. Uh, so now, while these technologies are very promising, they also comes with certain serious concerns. We will go to that, but let us see the last video of today's class.
Enjoying life with the bionic eye. The Argus 2 system from Second Sight. Here is Haroon. Haroon is totally blind due to the genetic disease retinitis pigmentosa, or RP. He was diagnosed at the age of 11. In some people, like Haroon, RP progressively robs patients of their sight, even their perception of light.
People ask me about what is it, what is the system, and I'm always talking about the system.
Haroon is outside at an archery centre in Amsterdam, Holland. He is wearing the Argus 2 system. Part of this system comprises of a pair of glasses with a camera fixed in the centre of the glasses, between the lenses. Haroon points to the camera and wireless transmitter on his glasses.
You got here the camera, and the camera is in a combination with it, and on my eye there is a chip, and on the chip there are 60 electrodes, and the camera takes the visual fields, and it goes to my brain.
He wears another part of the Argus 2 system around his waist on a belt, with a battery and various control buttons that he describes.
Here's a battery, and this one is to put on and off the system, and we got here filters to make higher contrast. So when it's weather, I use this one to make the contrast higher, and when it's very sunny, I use this one to make it better.
Haroon is inside the archery centre, being instructed on how to use a bow.
Everyone who can have it, I want them all to get the system. Because I know for me it's so important. I think it's important for other people with retinitis pigmentosa to have it. Yeah, that's my goal.
Encouraged by his instructor, Haroon holds the bow and aims, repeatedly firing arrows at the archery target.
I'm going to restaurants and going out and yes, going socialized. Yeah. In September I was on the beach and it was 3 weeks of fun. That's very emotional. When I'm in a bar and I see the lights and the contours of the people, that's very exciting for me. And so I make a choice to do it because I've seen it in the archery that it works. It's the quality of life, I think it is. Got no regrets because it's so successful.
Haroon laughs as he celebrates hitting the target. Many thanks to Haroon for sharing his experiences with us.
Okay, so as you can see, I think those of you who are into photography, you will also know that based on, we adjust our camera apertures and the shutter speed, and we control the amount of light and for the time the light should come in, depending on like what kind of lighting or weather we have on the outside. So the same the person can do with the video processing unit. Now, what are the concerns? So this is a report from 15th February 2022. So what happened? The second site decided suddenly to stop their support for the Argus 2. So maybe because Orion is in the clinical trial. Now the thing is that suddenly a group of people who have undergone like a costly surgery and the risky surgery and are dependent on the assistive devices, they suddenly found out that their devices are obsolete and unsupported. So As you can understand, even with our gadgets, like simple gadgets like mobile phones and laptops, if we found suddenly the support is not there and these are duplicated, so we have different difficulties in operating them. And we are talking about the sense of vision, one of the most important sense to navigate in our world. So and then like they have documented the problems that suddenly in middle of a subway station their the Argus 2 is powering down, or they are always at the risk, because if it stop working then there is nowhere to go, it is back to square one. And this also highlights that why we always should talk about, we depend independent of what kind of technologies we have, we always should talk about the social exclusion and the need for an inclusive environment, because technology is an enabling thing, but we should not mistake it as something that will resolve or fix up a problem which is not actually a problem in itself. It is a problem because we have made it so. So what kind of concerns that we have? So, in any case of this BCI or the prosthetics devices, there are some first there is some the usability issues, the social and cultural barriers. Then the technical challenges, like what the system requires, the system support, and see lot of the system they requires some amount of connectivity, of power, internet. With the advent of these days, the Internet of Things, lots of connected systems are being used as assistive devices. If you see some technologies like bone conduction, which helps persons with hearing impairment, certain hearing impairment, to actually gain some sense of the sound. And Internet of Senses is coming. The 5G internets are coming into picture with the tactile internet. So there are technical requirement, and that also poses challenges in different environments. Then there is the non-linearity of these devices, right? So these devices are very complex, and it is not that you simply upgrade from one thing to another. Then there are concerns of security and privacy and ethical implications. So in turn, what these systems are generating is lots of data, and lots of very, very personal data. And we all know, like, the concerns about data security and privacy, and also the ethical implications, that what should we take as a policy. There is this policy perspective also, say in sometime in future, if the visual prosthetics becomes affordable to say the say 50% of the population, so shall we kind of mandate everyone to take up the pro, shall we or shall we corporate make environment that it can be a choice. Assistive technology should be a choice and not like mandatory thing without which you cannot also. And then of course come and the portability. So it may not be for the visual learning eye, but say we have so, or the powered wheelchairs or other larger devices like which require a lot of units to carry around. Convenient are they? How portable are they? How practical are they? Uh, Going to that more busy, I think. In any way, if you are into the data science things, you want to understand how the signal data even looks like, you can actually refer to Kaggle. So these are all from several data science and Kaggle competitions. As you can see, lots of data EMG signal, stress recognition of human gait, mental attention, P300 from computer interface. The EEG alpha waves from these processing data sets are out there on which you can also try your hands on. So, if you are interested. So,